completely threw me. I was not ready.
Welcome back to the Within Reach podcast. So it's been a little while since we've been in the studio, so it's good to be back. So let's have a bit of a rundown on what's been happening the past few weeks.
Yeah, honestly, well, I don't even know when the last time we were in was. Like 6 weeks, has it been? I reckon it's probably been close to 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
So because we usually record our podcast episodes in advance and we were doing really well. We were ahead by 6 or 8 weeks. And then life happened.
Yeah. And now it's like the end of June. So where did that go?
Yeah, I don't even know. But yes, lots to catch up on. I don't even know where to start. What's been going on with you, Krystal?
We went to Dream Out Loud with Morgan Nelson a few weeks ago, which was awesome. Whilst I was hesitant to go at first, it was mind-blowing. Absolutely loved it. So thank you for dragging me along.
No worries.
Still digesting from that. Like every day when I drive around, I just have little reminders about it, which is pretty cool. And then, yes, balancing work and training for the half marathon, which it's getting very hard in these cold, dark mornings.
When is it, the marathon or the half marathon?
I forget the date.
Do you know how many weeks away it is?
Because there was the Hunter Valley one that's 6 weeks away, but I'm not able to do that one anymore because got to be moving into my new house, which is exciting. And then 10 weeks away. 10 weeks away is the Lake Mac one.
Yeah. Cool. So that's happened. So Dream Out Loud, which for those of you who are like, what is that? We went to, it was like a personal development / business event that we went to on the Gold Coast. And I have been following Morgan, who's actually my new mentor, for a little while now. And I got tickets to the event and I kind of, brought Krystal along with me. And it was honestly the most incredible 3 days of my life. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I loved it. And I remember you saying how the first event you went to and you don't get out till midnight. I'm like, what the heck? How could you be talking for that long? Or I'm going to fall asleep. But just the energy in the room was just so I don't know what the right word is. Thrilling though.
Yeah, but it kind of was, yeah, because we'd start at 9 a.m. and then we got, I think the latest we left was 12 p.m. or 1 a.m. or something on that second day.
Yeah.
So it was 14 hours.
Big days. And I remember thinking I've done a bit of self-work, self-development stuff, but that just peeled off some more layers that I didn't even realize was there. So it was a really good space to be in and met so many incredible people.
Yeah. Connected with a lot of them.
Even with you.
Yeah, I know. I learned so much about you in those 3 days that I feel like I didn't even know you before.
Yeah.
And now I actually see you very differently now.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, I see you differently, not me.
Well, I see me differently too. But yeah, it's we've completely peeled back those layers, hey?
Yeah, because before, I guess, we just go to the office together and have our content days. But that, staying in the hotel together and being so open and vulnerable in every sense of the word. So, I feel like we really got to know each other deeper, which was really nice.
Yeah, it's really good. And then, so apart from that, so you got the marathon coming up and then you've also bought a house.
Yes. Yeah, so it's something I've been working on for a while, just always saving my pennies. And so we get the keys on 23rd of July, which is exciting. And it'll be a full-on 12 months because we want to renovate. So our spare time and weekends is, I'll be putting the tool belt on.
I love the sound of that.
Yeah.
So good.
And how about you?
Oh my God, I don't even know where to start. So, first thing, the most exciting thing for those who've been following along with me on socials or just those who know me personally, my partner Jack is in the army and he has been away for the last 3 months and he gets home next Friday. Yay! I am so excited. I'm getting a bit emotional thinking about it. It's really hard to be away from your partner for so long. I'm just full of so much excitement.
I can see your eyes watering. It's making me emotional.
It's just I can't actually put the words together and how crazy the last 3 months have been, and to think about how far I've come in the last 3 months and just so much has happened and he hasn't been there for it. So him coming home, I'm so excited about. So that's one of the most exciting things coming up for me. Aside from that, had Dream Out Loud, went to another business event the week after that, which was insane. I made the decision and booked the flights the day before, so that was crazy. We've also put on some new staff members, which I'm really excited for everyone to get to know. So we've got our new admin assistant, Maddie, and then we've also got a new coach, Roberta, who is a gun at what she does. So I'm really excited for them to become part of the team and for everyone to really get to know them and how they do things. I honestly think they're going to add so much value to what we do.
Oh, definitely. I love that we have team meetings weekly now, and we got 4 people on there.
Right? It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It feels like a real, like, not that we weren't a team before, but it feels like a real team now because everyone is really invested in what they do, and you can tell that everyone's here to learn. So now, as like kind of the boss figure, I suppose, I'm like, okay, how can I level up so that you guys level up? So that's why I've had these ideas springing left and right on like, how can we improve? How can we get better? And like, what do I need to do to make, I think, things more efficient for everyone moving forward? I have so many things up my sleeve I haven't spoken to you about yet. So we'll go through that on Tuesday.
I'm excited.
But aside from that, it's just been like honestly, just navigating life. Like, it's been so busy the last 3 months, particularly since we did our last podcast episodes. Like, last podcast episodes we did, Anthony was with us. That's how long ago it was.
True.
And I think it's been 6 weeks since he's finished up.
And he's living his best life in Bali.
Yeah. So it's been a really crazy couple of months, but that's the gist of it, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing so many things.
Oh, I'm sure there's so many more things that have happened in the past few weeks, but that's a good start.
Yeah, right. And so, now we're kind of getting in towards the center of the year. It's starting to get colder. Mm-hmm. It's starting to get harder for a lot of people to like keep themselves focused and switched on. And I've even noticed for myself, like particularly the last 3 weeks, I'm noticing that motivation is really dipping in a lot of areas, and like balancing everything's becoming a bit harder now because I find you kind of get stuck in your ways, and when your surroundings, your environment start to change and that makes things harder, it's easier for you to, I want to say, lose the strength in your mindset. So I'm noticing that kind of dip it's happening in my mind, but I'm not letting it happen physically. Like, I'm not letting that hold me back, but winter's definitely a challenging time. How have you found winter so far?
Oh, very challenging, because especially with my running, like I run 4 times a week, and I'm definitely a morning person. For me, I just really struggle of an afternoon to exercise. And I've been in a good routine of like getting up at 4:30, but it's pitch black and it is freezing. So I find myself like so warm and cozy in bed and just lying there for probably 20 minutes because my heater's broken in my house at the moment.
Oh, you're
as
kidding.
Well. Oh, yeah.
Do you have an Oodie?
No.
Life changing. Buy yourself an Oodie, live in it. I promise.
Yeah, well, I got a dressing gown. That's the closest to, and so like I'll get into my running clothes and then put my dressing gown on over the top, and I'll like warm up at home. But no, I have found it very challenging and just taking a little bit longer to leave the house and get going. But of course, once I get going, the momentum's there, and like I feel so much better for it. But as you said, like I could definitely feel it in my mindset, but I'm not letting it affect me physically. It's like I'm still getting my training done. I'm still doing the things I need to do with like work and coaching, but it is harder.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think that's the biggest thing as we approach the center of the year. There's a couple of things that happen, right? So yes, it's getting colder and it's getting darker earlier, and the days are shorter, which naturally makes our circadian rhythm change, and like people want to kind of go into hibernation. It's not just a physiology thing, but also mentally it feels harder because things are a little bit more uncomfortable. But then the other thing that happens is this time of year, we're hitting the center of the year. So beginning of the year, everyone's motivation and energy levels are high. Fresh year, new start, everyone's got a different mindset. It's warm, days are really long, and everyone gets really excited for what's to come for the year because it's brand new, right? And then as we kind of head through March, that starts to dip a little bit, but then we have the holidays and we have like the Easter break, and then everyone seems to perk back up again. And then you kind of hold steady until you get to the center of the year. And I think the center of the year is really hard for a lot of people, regardless of whether it's winter or not, because you're smack bang in the middle where the beginning half is long gone, but the end is still nowhere in sight. So you kind of get to a point where you feel like everything's monotonous. Everything is feeling very slow and a little bit more challenging, and it's like you don't have like a start and an end. You kind of smack bang in the middle. I feel like the center of anything, whether it's like winter, the year, a goal, it's just like the hardest part because you're so far from the start, but you're also so far from the end.
Yeah, and I guess it's all around your mindset and how you view that, because a lot of people can look at it as being stuck and still so far to go, but a lot of people can look at it as see how far I've come and keep moving it, using it as momentum to keep going. And I guess that's mindset is where a lot of people can put themselves down a lot too, because yes, we're halfway, and what if those people haven't accomplished what they thought they would by now, and then they get stuck in that self-sabotage cycle.
Yeah, 100%. And it happens a lot. And I've actually seen it I see it more prominently now, like this time of year, because when you then we're in the center of the year and then you mix it with winter and you put those things together, it's like a recipe for disaster if you don't have the mindset to carry you through. And this is where I see a lot of drop-offs in health and fitness. A lot of people start to get comfortable. A lot of people give up. A lot of people get complacent. Complacency is a massive one this time of year. And a lot of people self-sabotage. And so it's funny because I'm saying this, or we're saying this from experience of our own lives, but also like we've been in the coaching space for a really long time. Every single year, it's like clockwork. So what I wanted to cover today, and I'm sure actually, let me rephrase. This was your topic idea. So what you wanted to cover today is some strategies, some things that we notice that happen, and then some strategies or some problem solving tools so that people can get themselves out of it. Because the other thing is, whilst we're in the center of the year, it doesn't last long. Like winter's it's 12 weeks. It's not a very long time in hindsight. So like in 12 weeks, you can either be further to where you want to be, or you can be further away from where you want to be. And so really right now we're about to hit July. So we've only really got 8 weeks of winter left. That's it.
That sounds great.
Right? It's not really that long. So then the thing is, it's like, okay, well, how do we get through the next 8 weeks? So I think that's kind of where we need to start to look at, well, first of all, looking at it from a perspective of, okay, it's only 8 weeks. What can I do to push through the next 8 weeks? Let's kind of go through, like, what are the biggest things that you notice in terms of tendencies of people, patterns that you notice and pick up on as a coach, or just things that you hear people say around this time of the year, and let's like deep dive into those.
Main things I've noticed is people dropping off and they've become less engaged. So I'm talking about my clients right now, like they become less engaged like with me. Like I'm constantly trying to check in with them, keep them motivated and keep them accountable. And, you know, their replies are slowly dropping. They're not completing all of their workouts. And wait, am I going to solution yet, or just going through the problem still?
Let's go through solution problem. I think that way people are going to stay engaged in this conversation, because we're kind of identifying a solution and then a problem and then going into solution. And what you just said there, I noticed the same thing with my clients. At this point in time, I've had a couple of clients actually put their cancellation notice through, tried to save them, didn't happen. And I unfortunately, because I look at those clients, those specific ones, I know that they've self-sabotaged themselves. They've chosen the easy way out and they've decided to cancel because it's easiest. They know who they are, and it's a shame because they've got so much potential, and hopefully they realize and get themselves back into a groove at some point. But I notice the same thing with, so yes, the drop-offs, but also I notice it with like message replies. People are less active on the app, and like it might take them 4 or 5 days to get back to you. And that saying, we can only meet you where you want to be met, is really relevant here. We can't, as your coaches, meet you where you want to be met if you're not meeting us where we need to be met. Communication is key. If you're not active on the app, if you're not replying to messages, if you're not engaging yourself, we can't do that for you, but we can try and help, you know. So that's the thing, because as a coach, like, you want to be there and you want to constantly message them and check in on them, but how do we actually get what they need? How do they get what they need? Not just through us.
Yeah, like I feel sometimes they take it for granted having us there.
Yep.
And then once I message them a fair amount of times, I'm like, book in a call, send them the link.
Yeah.
And then once we get on the call, they're like, oh, I wish I did this earlier.
Right.
So a lot of people, they get comfortable, they get complacent, and they just hermit into themselves, and they don't realize the power of having a conversation and having someone there in your corner. So one of my solutions is like jumping on calls with my clients just to touch base with them, and look, they might have other things going on in their lives as well, and just knowing that they have someone there for a bit of extra support. And it's something that you did, the 8-week goal setting form has been really good. Do you want to go into that one?
Yeah, sure. So again, like, we notice patterns, and for any coaches that are listening, this is something that I think would benefit from doing with your clients too. This time of year, every year, we notice that kind of drop off. So what we actually did is we developed an 8-week Google form, and we sent it to all of our clients, and basically they filled out a series of questions. So the first question was like goal setting. So it was like, what do you want to achieve in the next 8 weeks? Then it went into just future pacing them, a little bit of NLP kind of wording just to ensure that people can actually visualize themselves getting to the goal. So it was, what was your goal? And then it was, stepping into that goal, what would happen if you achieved the goal, so that they could actually write down in that goal setting form, like, what would this bring me? What would this goal bring me? How would I feel when I achieve this goal? And then also problem solving ahead of time. Okay, what are the things that would stop you from achieving the goal? What are the things that would hold you back? What are the things you're most worried about? What are the things you're most excited about when achieving this goal? And then the last part was, what do you need from us as coaches, or what do you think, what sort of support do you think would benefit you? So it's really just like knuckled down every concern that they may have, so that as coaches we can see first and foremost, okay, what do they actually need from us right now, and how can we make our coaching more tailored to them right at this point in time when they need it. But then alternatively to that, if you do have clients that start to drop off, start to put in their cancellation notice, or start to like question whether they want to continue, because that does happen, you can then deliver them the form that they filled out and go, well, hang on a minute. This is the form that you filled out. These are the points that you said you were concerned about. These are the things that you mentioned you didn't want to happen. These are the things that you said you were most excited about and why the goal was most important to you. And it's helping them realign themselves, because they're the ones who wrote it. The other thing that we did in the form was I asked them for a level of commitment. I said, how committed are you to achieving this goal? First one was, I am committed. Second one was, I want to be committed. And the third one was, I am not committed. 95% of our clients put, I am committed. There was a small percentage that said, I want to be committed, but that instantly shows us where their mindset's at as well. So the good thing with that is, again, they've committed to the next 8 weeks. So now we just have to hold them to that.
Yeah, I think it's very powerful to do, because a lot of those questions they would never just ask themselves.
Right.
And so it actually gives them a chance to think about how it's going to feel for them once they achieve their goal. Because a lot of people just look at the initial goal of weight loss, but not thinking about how it's actually going to make them feel, which is a much stronger motivator when it's coming from like intrinsic, like inside you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was really great that we did that. And I think like for coaches, it's a really good idea to do. But then for clients as well, like if you're somebody who isn't working with a coach, maybe do that for yourself. Like get out a notebook and pen, write down those questions, answer them for yourself, stick it up on a wall somewhere, so that when you are going through those times of like lack of motivation, you might be struggling a little bit, you actually have that to refer back to, and you can read it back to yourself and go, oh shit, like I did actually say that. I did commit to that. Because it's good to be held to a standard. But the other issue I find is like, as coaches, yes, we can push to get you on a call. We can constantly message you and we can ask you how you're going, and we can really try and like deliver the best communication possible. But communication is 2 ways. So like as a client or as somebody who maybe isn't working with a coach, the ball's also in your court. So having these sorts of things that you ask yourself, the sorts of questions that you answer, like it's going to be super helpful for you to stay on track.
Definitely. Another thing I see is a lot of clients being very hard on themselves because they haven't been perfect this whole time. And so like effort is better than perfection. And like something I work on with them is just those little daily tasks every day, and aiming for progression rather than perfection, because a lot of people can get stuck in their own head. And then once you're more focused on like, oh, I didn't do that, it comes back to the all or nothing mindset. You're either all in or nothing at all, and that can be really damaging.
Yeah, and I think the other part to that as well is like when you said effort is the most important thing, intention is everything as well. So like even, because I did a couple of check-ins for clients this morning, and even reflecting on some of those check-ins, I had one client in particular who said in her feedback that she had eaten out like more than her words, more than she should have this week. Change of words, more than you wanted to this week. Because again, like the way that you speak to yourself is also important. But when it comes to that, she's like, I've eaten out more than I should have this week. I have tracked it all, but I definitely haven't tracked it correctly. And so I said to her, I said, look, like as a coach, yes, we look at data points. Data is going to give us the rundown of like where you're actually at, and we rely on that data. However, I care more about your intention than I do about how accurate your data is. Your intention was to follow your protocols, to eat out, to practice healthy eating, to track it so that I had some sort of data. That intention to me is more important, because it shows that you're in the place where you're wanting to progress. So like, yes, intention, but then also when it comes back to being hard on yourself, I think it's also reverse engineering the goal and looking at like what's the minimum required dose that you need to get to the goal. Because a lot of people think to get to my goal, I need to train 5 times a week. I need to hit my 10,000 steps. I need to track every single day and I need to be perfect. And it's like, okay, but what's the minimum required dose? Like if you could achieve your 5 kilo fat loss goal, training 3 days a week, tracking 5 days and having the weekends off tracking, and maybe only doing 6,000 steps, doesn't that sound more appealing?
Mm-hmm, definitely. And one thing I got from Morgan Nelson, his like lifestyle planner,
Yeah.
was like BAM, like the bare ass minimum task to get through the day is even for myself, I'm like chronic list writer. I've got so many tasks on my calendar, plan it all out. And I actually get a kick out of like ticking things off.
Yeah, it's that dopamine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I get like that too. You get so into your list writing because it gives you that feel good feeling,
You know,
but
it's
then
like-
you're not doing it.
Yeah. And
You
like
know, like-
sometimes like I'll do something and I'll literally write it on my calendar and tick it off after I've already done
Yeah,
it.
because you're like, oh, I did that. Yep, win.
Yeah, exactly. And then but when I get to the end of the day and like half the things I haven't done, I'm like, I'll just move that to tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really bad for that too. It's like finding out what is actually the bare ass minimum that you can do. Because like the other thing I find, this is just general life, but I expect too much of myself each day, and so there's so many things. I don't learn from it. I'm trying to work out how do I know what is the perfect amount of tasks for a day, because I always have things left over, and it's like I wonder what the actual like minimum required dose would be. Like if you could get 3 really good things ticked off and 3 really productive things, whether it's work or training and nutrition, whatever, opposed to like 7 things that you do half-assed or like don't tick off at all. Wouldn't that be better?
Once you can figure out the correct dose
I
of
don't
that,
know
let
if
me
you
know.
can. Yeah, I don't know if there's even like a way to do that.
Yeah, I guess like sorting out your priorities at least. So I always make sure I get like the most important things done. But even I can find myself like putting off things and then I have to talk to myself. It's like, it's not going to get any easier by putting it off. So just trying to do the hard things first is going to make your life easier day to day.
Yeah, that saying, particularly this time of year, eat the frog. So like do the hardest task first, because that's only going to, well, actually, interesting segue this one. So a lot of people say eat the frog, do the hardest thing first so that you can.
Where did that come from? Like eat the frog.
I
saying.
don't know.
The first time you said it to me, I was like, what?
I don't know. I got it from Ash Robertson,
Okay.
but I know that it's like a saying, but like I don't know. Is it because frogs bounce? So when you're trying to eat it, it's too hard to eat because it keeps moving?
We'll go with that.
That's kind of what, I don't know. That's what I'm picturing, is like it's too hard to eat it because it's bouncing.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing in my head.
I think I'm totally off. I don't know if that's correct.
We'll have to Google it after this. But
Anyway,
continue with your explanation.
Yeah, so like do the hardest thing first. And a lot of people say doing that is good because then the rest of the day feels easy because you've done the hardest thing first. But then a perspective for that, I think everyone's different, because what I have also heard is, again, I actually think Morgan was the one who said this, and he said do the easiest thing first because it's going to then create momentum to then continue to do more and more and more things across the day. So like for me, I'm a procrastinator if I am not aware of what's going on. Like, so for me, doing the hardest thing first is the best thing, because that actually makes me then not only tick that thing off, but then keep that momentum. But for some people, they might actually find doing one tiny simple thing first is going to then create that momentum to keep going. So I think you've got a trial and error with that.
Yeah, everybody's so different.
yeah.
And just got to find what works for you.
I feel like I'm very stumped on the eat the frog thing now. I'm genuinely like, I don't know where that came from. Oh God. Yeah. I think the other thing, another point that's really important is like, because a lot of people have barriers this time of year as to why they can't do something. Because again, like it's hard, it's cold, whatever. This is the perfect opportunity for you to actually lean on those around you though. And so you shouldn't, this is the thing, like a lot of people get a coach when they're like, I have a specific goal I want to achieve. Let me get a coach to achieve this goal. And it's like, that's great. However, wouldn't it make sense to also get a coach in a time of need? So when you are feeling lack of motivation, you are struggling a little bit, it's not about, I'm struggling, this is too hard, so I'm going to cancel my coach or I'm going to do this on my own. It's like, why don't you stay with your coach to let them help you during this time? Or alternatively, if you don't have a coach and you're struggling, wouldn't it be the perfect opportunity to then get one? And I think a lot of people see it backwards. A lot of people go, well, I have an 8-week goal, or I have like a fat loss goal. I want to have a coach. Okay, cool. Everything feels good. It's going well. I'm doing all the things. And then as soon as it gets hard and they decide to give up, they like throw their coaching out the window. Or alternatively, they go, it's really hard. So when I enter the rest of the sentence, when I am more confident, when I am fitter, when I have more motivation, when life is perfect, then I will get a coach. So they wait for like the perfect time to get a coach, but the time you need a coach is when things are imperfect and when you're actually struggling with something or need the help. Whereas people see it backwards and they're like, I'll get a coach when I enter the rest of the sentence. Like it's backwards. And it's like, this is the perfect opportunity this time of year to go, hey, I'm actually struggling. I need some assistance. I'm falling off track. That's the reason I'm going to get a coach.
Definitely. And I couldn't have said it better. One thing I think is really important is actually enjoying the journey. There's a lot of people that either try to do it on their own or like are really struggling. You can get in your head, but if you find ways to make it enjoyable, so like where community comes in and is like really important, and just sort of finding little parts of your day to reward yourself after you've done the workout or whatever that may be, because it's not about the end result, it's about enjoying the journey along the way, because if you're not enjoying it, what's the point?
Well, that's right, but so many people don't enjoy it. And like, to be fair, I know that not everybody loves exercise, but it's about finding what you enjoy and to the best of your ability sticking to that, and also knowing that like not enjoying it is normal at times. So yes, enjoy the journey and think about the journey rather than the end result. But also, if you're being real for a second, remembering too that, hey, you're not always going to enjoy it. Like sometimes it's going to be shit and you're going to hate it and it's going to suck and you're going to want to quit and you're going to want to give up. But that's also part of the process.
And that's when you come back to the 8-week goal setting form.
Yeah, see? Full circle moment, right? That's exactly right. That's when you come back to like realigning yourself with what you want, why it's important, doing the 8-week goal setting. Or if 8 weeks is too long, do 4 weeks, you know? Because again, this time is the middle of the year. The end is nowhere in sight yet. So it's easy to get complacent, but bringing yourself back to what's actually important to you in the moment is going to help you carry through in those times.
And also like meeting yourself where you're at, like you mentioned before about like meeting us where we're at as like coaches as well. But I think a lot of people can get stuck in comparing themselves to other people, especially with social media or like your friends. When it comes to running, you might be seeing other people's pace on Strava, and it can be really damaging when you're comparing to other people. So just meet yourself where you're at and making it sustainable and realistic, like going back to like the SMART goals, like being specific, realistic and achievable for you, not what's good for the person next to you.
Yeah, well, because if you're looking at everybody else and you're like, well, I'm not there, and then you don't do anything because you're not where they are, you're never going to get to where they are. So yeah, meeting yourself where you're at and going, okay, well, where I am at right now is where I'm at. That's okay. And having compassion for where you're at and knowing like there's nothing wrong with where you're at, but you want to strive for better. Okay, what are the steps? How can you become that person that you want to be, or the person that you're looking up to? And I think that's the other thing is so many people go, oh, I could never do that. I can't be like that. I can't get to that goal, etc., which is a limiting belief. But actually, the thing that I always like to remind people is if somebody else is doing the thing that you want to do, that's real life hard evidence that you can do it too, because you've seen somebody else do it. Like, so that shows that in reality, in the world, there's actually somebody doing that. Which means that you have the opportunity to as well. They've proven to you that, hey, if they can do it, it's obviously possible, you know?
I love the word evidence, and for everybody on their own fitness journey, self-development journey, it's all about building evidence, and that's how we create our own self-esteem and our own self-worth, because you build the evidence that like you can do it, you can do hard things. And from our Dream Out Loud event where we broke arrows on our throat.
Yeah, quite literally. She's not joking. So we had somebody hold an arrow, a hunting arrow, to our throats.
It wasn't like spiky sharp, but still it was quite strong.
It was pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yep. I felt that. I felt it go straight.
Yeah.
And yeah, we literally had to like break it.
Yeah. So it was like
with our throats. Break it with our throats. Like we had to step. It was insane.
Yeah. It was a very beautiful metaphor for stepping into the fear, like and committing and doing it anyway. I've stuffed up that
No,
quote.
that's what it was though. Yeah, it was like feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yes, that's it. So to set the scene for those listening, like someone was holding one end of the arrow with their palm and then you were standing there with the arrow on your throat and it hurt. And then you had to just take one big strong step. If you didn't, it would hurt you more. And so as everybody's lining up and I'm like watching everybody and I'm holding this arrow and I can feel, I'm like, how are people breaking it with their throat? But as I'm watching people do it, I'm like, I'm building evidence. Like I'm building evidence that it's possible. So when you come bring it back to your own health and fitness goals or whatever that may be, if other people are doing it, you can do it too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, one of the biggest things. So realistically, everything comes back to mindset and like what you're willing to do versus not willing to do, but having strategies to implement around this time. Also, we always talk about awareness, like even hopefully from this episode, at least, like you've gotten a bit of awareness of like, oh, I am doing that. Oh, I'm not doing that. Okay, I could do this better. I could do that better. Self-evaluation, self-reflection as well. I think like one of the most powerful things is at the end of every day, particularly in times when you're feeling that lack of motivation, lack of discipline, actually going, okay, what did I actually do well today? And then what is something that I didn't do well that I can work on for tomorrow? Because you're going to continue to be on repeat doing the same thing over and over again until you break the cycle. Well, how do you break the cycle? You become aware of the things you actually need to work on rather than just pretending that they don't exist.
Definitely. Awareness is the biggest thing. So you can make the next step towards change. And again, awareness about the way you talk to yourself. Those that say, I don't have time, or those that say, I will make time.
Yeah, massive. Yes, massive one. Because everyone's very good at saying, oh, I don't have the time for that. It's like, well, I call bullshit because you'd make time if it was important to you. Sure, everyone's schedules are different. Sure, people are busy. Your busyness might be different from my busyness. Your responsibilities may be completely different from my responsibilities, but still at the end of the day, everybody seems to be able to make time for their priorities. So when I hear somebody say, I don't have time, what I actually hear is it's not a priority for me, or other things take priority over that. It's okay as well if other things take priority, but be honest with yourself about it and just say, look, it's not my top priority. And that's okay too.
What would you say are some other practical tips that anybody listening that's really struggling with their motivation right now would be?
Another one would definitely be like utilize your friends and family, like find somebody who you can pair up with and have like a bit of a buddy system. You're struggling to go to the gym with someone, hold each other accountable. If you're struggling with goal setting or planning, meet up with a friend and do a weekly calendar meetup, like go for coffee and plan out your calendars together, hold each other accountable. Tell people around you what your goals are so that, because this is the other thing is like if you keep your goals to yourself, it's going to be harder for you to stick to them. Whereas imagine if you went and told 5 of your closest friends or family what your goals are, because then you're like, oh shit, they know about this now. You know, people are going to be watching me, or even if they're not, you're going to feel like they are. Another one is definitely setting like a really good solid morning routine and nighttime routine. I think sometimes starting with the basics of a morning and night routine are going to help create a bit of momentum to set you up for the day. So, you know, wake up at the same time each morning and do the same thing. If you go for a shower, go brush your teeth, make breakfast, sit down, read a book, like whatever it is, have the same structure, because that's going to then make you feel like you've got a bit of, I guess like momentum starting for the day.
Definitely. I've been learning so much about our like circadian rhythm and our like how to get better sleep essentially. And waking up at the same time every day is really important. And going to bed at the same time if you can. And that's also going to help your like resting heart rate, which is going to help you recover and actually feel more energized the next day. And things like eating right before you go to sleep or looking at screens right before you go to sleep. They're all things that are going to affect your heart rate as well. So your heart rate's going to be higher and you're going to wake up feeling a lot less energized. Or alcohol is a massive one. Listened to a study yesterday that was like 1 glass of wine can affect your sleep by 10%, 2 glasses by like 30%. And so just being mindful of those things. So if you're waking up not feeling well rested, we'll just take a look at what your nighttime routine is.
Yeah. And also on that, set yourself up the night before. Like a good day starts the night before, I think is the phrase that people say, or a good morning starts the night before. But basically like plan everything, get everything organized the night before so that when you wake up that next morning, you've already done the groundwork. So, you know, if you are going to the gym in the morning, go as far as to lay your clothes out on the floor or on the chair next to you so that you can get up and get changed. God, I've even told clients to sleep in their gym clothes before. They're like, oh, I got to get up and it's really hard. And you know, and I'm like, cool, sleep in your gym clothes. And they're like, can I do that? Yeah, I don't see why not. Another thing, like if you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning, particularly when it's cold and dark, place your phone out of reach on the other side of the bedroom so that you have to physically get up to turn your alarm off, or even better, get an alarm clock so you don't even have your phone as your alarm, and set that in your bedroom somewhere where, again, you just have to get up to turn it off. Because the thing is, once you're out of bed, chances of getting back in are less likely. Whereas if you're rolling over to snooze it, you're not getting out of bed. So it's easier to not get up.
Yeah, and also those that like maybe go on their phone, turn off the alarm, and then they're just there scrolling. So what the big thing I do is like putting on the do not disturb, so like no notifications pop up until like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And I get up like around 5. So it's good. I can get up, I'll train, I'll get myself ready for the day all before the notifications come flooding through.
Yeah, I actually have my notifications for social media permanently turned off. So
Nice.
I've only have them, you can do it in the settings of like Instagram and Facebook, and TikTok too, I do believe, but I don't really use TikTok too much. But basically like you only get the notifications when you physically enter the app. So I don't get notifications otherwise. And that's been a really big help, because I used to be someone who like I'd be working, I'd never be able to get into deep work because notifications would keep popping up and instantly you go to check it. So without that, the only notifications I get now is if I get like a text message or a phone call. And even then, my phone, it doesn't go on do not disturb, but it goes on silent. So I don't notice it as often.
Yeah, I think that would be a good help to a lot of people that are struggling to get up of a morning. Some other tips would be maybe if you can set a timer and a heater so it's nice and warm when you get up. Sadly, I cannot do that at the moment.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it comes down to mindset.
A lot of it does, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of practical tips in here. I feel like we bounced a lot, but I feel like within that, there's a lot of different things that you might have picked up on, you might not have done. So try them, write them out, try them, see how you go. But also just coming back to, just remembering why you're doing what you're doing, leaning on those around you, and just making sure as well that you don't let yourself get into a spiral of like giving up just because things are hard. Something I said to one of my clients this morning is like, the times that you don't want to do the thing are the most important, because they're the ones that actually test how much you actually want what you say you want. So when you can get through a day where you didn't want to do the thing and you did it anyway, that shows how committed you are to your goal.
Definitely.
Good episode.
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's been a while, but yeah, I feel like this is like the start of a comeback for our episodes. So yeah, I think we've only had about 3 weeks off, but I'm looking forward to getting this out to you guys, and hopefully you've taken something away from it. As always, we'd love for you to share this. Let us know how you like it. If there's any specific topics that have come up, anything that's resonated with you, any questions you have, we're always open for questions.
Always. Don't forget to give us a follow.
Sneak that one in there. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.